So this is the second of two videos in what I called initially making reed caps, but it occurs to me that they're not actually caps. They are formers teaching the reed to keep its new form. I mean, these were squished from a tube of cane only about 10 days ago by Robin Howell in Toronto. And so they're just learning to keep that form, and so these may not be necessary after they've been played 100 times, well, maybe after only 50 times, but while you're breaking in the reed, they are critical, absolutely critical. And so I'm quite happy with that pair. I've been gradually perfecting developing my technique, and I'm just going to finish off now this pair here, which is so far it could be suitable for any of these reeds. Now I'm going to make it bespoke. I'm going to tailor it to the shape of this reed here, because everyone is different. Now, the final stage with sandpaper. This is my this is 180 grit, and I've made my little tool using the fabric sandpaper, and I'm eliminating the carving marks. I did the other half earlier, so I'm now just doing its matching pair, initially using my fan-shaped sanding tool, and then once I'm happy that that's smooth, I roll it up into a tighter cylinder shape, and now keeping it flat and in a fan shape. So as I work from side to side, I'm trying to echo precisely the shape of the reed. Okay. And then to finish off, I'll take the finer, this is 240 grit, just to, I don't want to catch the tip of the reed on something that's sharp. So just a little finishing off on them both. There we are. These, I should say, are luxury reed clamps that I hope will last a lifetime. Or at least as long as the life of these reeds. I don't yet know, I'm not an experienced enough Aulos player to know whether I would still be using these clamps on the reeds in a year's time, or whether they're only for the early stage of the reed. I mean, it could be that later on I'll use this sort of clamp. This one is much narrower, both sides, and so instead of working at the back of the reed down here, it's just working at the tip. It could be that once they've been played a few hundred times, and it's the number of playings, the number of times they absorb moisture, get played, and then dry out again. That has a sort of memory effect on the reed. And what's crucial, what I'll do now, is tailor this reed clamp to this reed by a process that requires some sanding. So I'll put, no, I mustn't get confused. I've colour-coded all of these in pairs, using loom bands. So the bass reed, I have the loom band lower, the treble reed, I have it higher, for the low and the high chanter. So for each pair, a different colour code. And what I've also done is with my reed caps, I want to be able to tell them apart. So I wouldn't do all 4 bindings the same. One of them is different, and I'm using that for the base. So all my base reeds have the 2-colour binding. Now, this is the one that I am tailoring my reed cap to, and in order to see what I'm doing, I'm going to give it a little oil. Now this is vegetable oil, or rapeseed canola oil. And I'm using a little feather here, because rather than preserving my reeds in alcohol, I am keeping them oiled every now and then, but particularly at this stage of life. I'm keeping them nicely oiled to reduce the risk of cracking, because there's just nothing worse when you're clamping the reed to hear that little sound that is a crack all the way up. You can see, I mean, this hasn't cracked, but you can see the potential. That side is beautifully curved, but this side you can see there's a little, that you see could potentially crack if I put the clamp on when it was dry. It needs to be either well oiled or nice and damp. You don't want it too cold, you don't want it dry. Okay, now with that oiled reed, I'll just wipe off the excess. It'll be much easier for me to see what's going on when I put it into my clamp. So that's lined up there, and I'm not going to worry which way round it goes. I'll put it in first of all this way, a little squeeze, not too far, and now the other way. Okay, now I'll be able to see where it's rubbing, and what I'll do is with my sandpaper just sand where I can see the vegetable oil. So that's all the way along the front, and if I just do that 2 or 3 times with each reed until hopefully I see the oil everywhere, then I'll know that the reed cap fits absolutely beautifully. So I quite like this fine tuning. It's like when you're fine tuning an instrument, you really home in on the detail. So I'm going to make these reed caps absolutely beautifully in tune with the reed, made to measure. Okay, so both ways. I'm keeping it very tight between my fingers. I don't want it to. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Now, how's that looking? Okay, I can see there's still, it's not perfectly even, so I'm going to sand wherever I can see oil. Now, I'll just always do it the same way for consistency. Oh, it's got a bit too loose. I'm going to tighten this roll so I have a good firm cylinder, and it keeps its shape. That gives me really excellent control. And down there, so I can adjust whether I'm sanding at the tip or nearer the waist of the reed. Okay, and now this one. You can see oil down there. I must say, I love doing this sort of work outdoors, particularly with sawdust. You don't want to be in a room where you're breathing in dust, and you also don't want to be in the sun. So there we go. Let's pop those together. Last time, in we I go with the reed. Yeah, these were made in Toronto in blazing hot summer heat, and so it's only natural that in the voyage to Cambridge, and now in Cornwall, which is where I am at the moment, they have changed somewhat, settling down. Now I will just work that once again to get these fine-tuned to that specific reed, and then it will live. I'm going to keep it. They're not, my reed caps aren't going to float around from one pair of reeds to another. And that way, when I take the reed cap off, I can rely on what it's going to do and how the reed is going to behave over the next 20 minutes, or at least initially. If you're switching, mixing up your reed caps, or if they don't fit, worst of all, if you use a reed cap that doesn't fit, you'll crack the reed. I've done that, okay, so I've learnt from bitter experience. And I'm training these reeds into a particular shape. So I don't want it to be haphazard. There's a lot of labour involved in making a reed. They don't all work out. The reed caps are precious, and a good fitting one is very valuable. So these are not going anywhere. They're staying with these reeds. I think I'll just finish that off now. I'm not going to go any further. That will do. Now, whoops, comes the fun bit. Let's get that hammer out of the way. This is one I made earlier, so this will complete my pair, and I've decided that I would like it to be long enough that I could put it in a box that way. So I'm going to tie the reed cap so that there's that much on it. So I do 2 little loops. One, and then the second one I pass underneath. There we go. And let's get that together. So I can slip that over here, and I'm going to put the knot at the wide end, so that when I put the two together, it's got a shorter length of. So I just pull those two together, and to get it, once they're into my little notches, what I do is, if I can find it, here we are, an old barbecue skewer, a few times round there, and that enables me to get some decent tension on it, and also, oh, I've missed the line, let's get that there. Now, actually while tying, I'm just going to remove that for safety. Don't want accidentally to damage a reed. I'm not going to mix them up. So the wider one is the new one that I haven't finished yet. So I just wind that backwards forward. That's at the narrow end. I don't want it at the narrow end, I want it at the wide end. So I'm just going to keep it under tension, and this is a good way of getting it nice and tight. Great. So now I'll just chop that a bit short of a time and knot. Just an ordinary reef knot, and then this is nice waxed hemp or linen. Now I don't cut both because I want them to be connected, so I'll just cut that off there, and then just down like that. Hooray! Now I want it to look different, so I can identify which reed is on which. So I do 2 loops. One. Oh, this hasn't got enough wax on it. So, take my little lump of wax and just draw it a few times across. There we go, and I'll get that end as well. Now, 2 little loops. One. Oh, I'll give myself a little bit more pulling. And so 1 loop. And then the other loop goes underneath. And then that goes over. Well, let's tie it directly on by the wider end. So, now in order to tie that, get that tighter, I'll just go, oops, I'm not doing that very skillfully. Let's just roll around there, and can I get that nice and tight? Oh. Would have been easier if I'd left myself a little bit longer. I'm getting all tangled up with that. Okay. Oh, now that's not tightening up because I've put on so much wax. It's holding itself really, really... Oh, my goodness, how do we get that tight? Maybe I'll just work it round a little bit. Okay. And... yeah, I just need to apply a little bit more pressure. There we go. And the last knot. There we go. And all my reed caps are a different colour combination so that I don't get them mixed up. There's nothing worse than you accidentally, or if you've got several reeds on the go, you take your reed caps off and you can't remember which ones belong to which. So, they're all characters. And I'll just, this time I can snip both ends off, because it's not the connecting, oops, not the connecting thread. So we'll go snip, because they're nicely waxed, and just press those down like that. And here we are, finished reed cap. So, they're not identical. They are tailor-made for the low reed, the one that has 2 different colours, belongs to the low reed. Let's pop that in. Now, in fact, I've made a mistake. I'm glad I spotted that. Ah, dear. It wasn't that way around. God, when you're making videos, of course, something always goes wrong. So, in fact, with this pair, the double, the bicolour, the pied reed cap belongs to the high reed, and this one to the low reed. Yes. Okay, so those fit absolutely beautifully. Oh, I'm pleased with that.